boss, bitch, you know, for sure. Look, you're now listening to the Mind of an Terry's Moon. I'm the Archangel URIEL, and I'm here to carry out God duties and motherfucker responsibilities. And right now, we're going to talk about censorship. We're going to talk about censorship for a second so you can know what this means. Now, check this out. We're going to talk about it on a broad scale before we get real deep, before we talk about it, how it's being used on your monkey ass as far as witchcraft and rituals, and how the shadow government be utilizing censorship against your own monkey self. But let's talk. It's always a yin and yang to all polar shifts, and there's always a way to equalize something. And that's when you're on the right side of energy that ain't got nothing to do with the direction going right or doing something righteous. Now, check this out, right? Because in the spiritual nature, it ain't got nothing to do with those kind of shit. So, now, when we start to talk about censorship, let's talk about the good aspects. You got things like on the internet, YouTube, and things of that nature where you got one for kids, one for children. So, for the most part, you know things is going to be censored on there. So, you know, based upon the level of awareness of a child, they're not going to be privy to certain things that you may be able to see on YouTube and things of that nature, which is a good thing. Now, let's talk about the negative aspects once we start to talk about censorship and how the shadow government utilized this against your ass. What is censorship in totality? Censoring your senses. Let me repeat that. What is censorship in totality? Censoring your senses. So for the most part, what are your senses? Now, we are supposed to be a master of our senses, but a lot of times, majority of the world don't even know what their senses is. Now, you have to be a master of your senses, and that's how you become a sensei. Because once you become a master of your senses, you can have a level of awareness on the root cause on what make humanity or bugs or animals have the form of resistance or the things that they have. So you could kind of correlate another motherfucker's senses based upon you mastering your own senses, so you know it's only a few routes that a motherfucker could take for them to come up with the conclusion for them to say or do whatever that they're doing. So once you become a master of your senses, you can become a sensei. But what is the senses? Now, your senses is like your mentalities. It's your chakras. It's your mentalities. You know what I'm saying? It's your realms of realities. It's your fields. You know what I'm saying? It's your field of reality. So, for the most part, it's how you can pick up things. Now, your actual senses, I like to call these your light bodies, your sons of gods, your masculine and feminine versions that emanate and manifest and become dense into the organs that you utilize, which you call taste, see, smell, touch, and hear. And based upon your senses, how low they was vibrating or whatever frequency vibration they was in, following other spirits to correlate these organs that we're creating now, we manifested or created the right organ to receive the kind of information that we wanted to receive through that sense. So you got a bunch of different senses that can receive information from the external world in different ways. You see what I'm saying? And for the most part, based upon your spiritual travels, you created a sense, a chakra, a field, a light body, and each light body represents a frequency vibration within this dimension that you can receive things within this dimension. So now you create organs that you can utilize for those senses. So now you have a hear one, a see one. You know what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying? So, for the most part, this takes us into the motherfucker senses. So, you need to know that the organs is just tools that represent, as a physical representation of your senses, that's light bodies. They're less dense. So, we're in a realm of reality right now where we ran under a shadow government that got y'all in magic squares. So, you actually have to censor a lot of your senses just to seem comfortable or relatable within this magic square, or to seem like you're being responsible within life in some way, shape, or form. I should have took this shit in the goddamn house, because I ain't about to have no motherfucking lawnmowers out here motherfucking up the video. You know what I'm saying? But you could be in a situation where, let's say for an example, right? A library. A library deals with what? Silence, no talking. So you're going to have to harness or discontinue one of your senses in order for you to seem acceptable in that job field. You know what I'm saying? For the most part, you got to disregard hearing certain things, and you got to disregard communicating certain things that may bother you due to the fact of that environment needing to be quiet. So that's just a surface level example, but I'm just trying to get you to understand how censorship can be utilized negatively based upon the shadow government and what they be needing y'all for. So they have y'all censor a lot of y'all senses to align yourselves within these job fields. This is why you work at your job and feel exhausted, and you could go home and do something that deals with your creative attributes And it takes way more energy to do these things, yet you find yourself being way more tired when you're doing little to nothing at work than putting in a whole lot of energy of doing your creative attributes. Why is that? See, because one of your senses is being drained, and another sense, and one of your other senses is not being catered to, because when you go to these job fields, some of your senses, lights, chakras, have to be turned off in order for you to relate. Like a lot of y'all who play in sports, a lot of your mental chakra have to be turned off, and a lot of your root chakra have to be turned on, especially if you deal with like football and basketball. So this is more aggressive. So it's not really about, it's little to no logic. The little bit of logic in it, okay, that's good, but for the most part it's more dealing with the passion and the root chakra, the speed, you know what I'm saying, the durability. You know what I'm saying? So for the most part, a lot of your other chakras have to be turned off. So it even goes into the boxing circumstances where, you know what I'm saying, you guys are really not concerned about your health and your mental condition getting punched upside the head 1,000 times a day and things of that nature, yet it's all for the money, right? So, you know, root chakra plays in first, and then they make you disregard your motherfucking throat chakra and your mind chakra. So therefore, when you want to communicate something's not right with the money because your physical health is getting more damaged than what the money is being worth, they tell you to shut up and go get a lawyer or go get a publicist, or they give you mind states where this is actually the right thing to do, other than you trying to speak out like you the next Muhammad Ali or some shit like that. Cassius Clay. You know what I'm saying? And on top of that, you see what I'm saying? They put you into circumstances where you need to know that your health ain't even more important than the money that they giving you, but they making you think that the money that they giving you is worth the circumstances that you're putting your health through, and not knowing behind closed doors you in a situation just being utilized as a form of an Olympics for them to disregard and give money no value whenever they please, whenever they get up and feel like they want to use some other kind of currency system. So you have to understand that also. Even when it comes to being a doctor, now sometimes it's like we get, like, if you're a doctor or a nurse, right, there's certain curriculums or there's certain medicines that you're just authorized to give people. That's not saying you know everything about all medicines. You just know what to give a person when they have these certain signs and symptoms. So a lot of times you don't know shit either. But no disrespect to all my doctors and nurses out there, but here's the thing. Sometimes you have to disregard the sacral chakra that deals with travel and wisdom, because for the most part, here's the thing, you might be in a situation where it's wise not to give a person this kind of treatment, but for the most part, based upon what your job authorized you to do, you don't want to lose your job, so you might disregard one of your chakra levels in some way, shape, or form. Hold on one second. Oh, yeah, I had to back it up real quick. But yeah, like I said, you know what I'm saying? Even dealing with nurses, you could be in a circumstance where if you're a nurse or a doctor, sometimes you may have to disregard certain wisdom and knowledge that you may have. You know what I'm saying? AKA certain senses. You may sense, especially y'all female nurses. Y'all have senses that the male doctors don't have. They just come in and out. A lot of them be foreign, and they're not even from this country. They can give a damn about a lot of y'all circumstances and shit like that. They just come and read like, okay, yeah, I'm the only one that's authorized to give someone this strong medicine. So that's all it is that I need to do, and I'm up and out. And then a lot of y'all give these motherfuckers y'all trust because they're in these positions, and a lot of times y'all end up with other health issues. But like I said, pardon me, a lot of these females sometimes that's playing in these roles, you could kind of look at the doctor and be like, hold on, I'm feeling a sense that this person may not necessarily need that adrenaline, or need that motherfucking liquid, or need that motherfucking y'all know all this extracurricular shit they be pumping in y'all and shit like that. So for the most part, yeah, you got to be motherfucking careful that you're not participating in these situations in this world, in this magic square, because you'll find yourself having to disregard a lot of your other senses just to gain security, and then you end up manifesting a whole lot of blood on your hands, aka a lot of regret, a lot of I wish I didn't see this, I wish I didn't see that, but I had to do what I had to do. Even getting into people who was in the military or shit like that, you done killed a lot of people, and you're like, oh yeah, I had to fight for my country, but now you got all these motherfucking whiplash flashbacks and all that motherfucking shit and things of that nature, and can't really enjoy your insurance check like to the full maximum potential because you got issues and shit like that. So you know what I'm saying, you got to keep that in mind. Like, they even create type of qualifications that if you got these kind of mannerisms that you need family members to handle or conduct this type of banking or something like that, they put y'all all in kind of magic squares and shit like that. So that's what you need to understand. But for the most part, look, when we start to talk about this magic square that they got y'all in and things of that nature, they make you disregard and censor a lot of your own senses. And then they put out programs on television channels and shit like that to make you feel like this is what's appropriate in order to propagate yourself within these circumstances and situations. So a lot of times, before y'all even get educated, jump into a lot of these schools, jump into a lot of these extracurriculum shit like science and all that goddamn shit. You end up putting yourself into a position where it's almost like, all right, I gotta have this curriculum, or I gotta have this kind of mannerism, or based upon television, based upon TV, all the way down to how y'all even correlate families. So the shit is motherfucking esoterically deep out here. You need to understand that censorship goes beyond everything, because if they could censor your power, away from you, then for the most part, you're already under their game. You already work in their cobalt mines, and they make you use the energetic charge that they want you to use when they want you to use it, while they somewhere drinking all your energy up and shit like that. So keep that in mind also. So censorship goes beyond just what we think the good aspects of it is. When we go out into this world, living this magic square into a live ritual and spell every time you go out and present yourself into the world, you need to know that you in a circumstance where you are censoring your senses in some way, shape, or form. And if you are not a sensei, aka a master of your senses, then you ain't gonna know how to rise or rise above any current, and you're gonna be washed up under all currents via people, places, and things, circumstances, and situations, just because you think this is the right thing to do at the moment in order to come across agreeable or to come across relatable. And it ain't even always got anything to do with agreeable or relatable. Sometimes a person needs you to go upside their motherfucking head in order to understand some agreeable shit in their life that they was confused about. Sometimes motherfuckers need you to be an inspiration for them to get out of some type of fixated shit. Sometimes people just need to see another person be an individual, just need to be an individual, and then you'll start to realize that, hold on, I'm the only person looking at it like motherfuckers are seeing this as opposite. Motherfuckers are looking at what I'm doing as the right thing to do. You know what I'm saying? So you have to stop going on other people's mind states and brain mentalities and never hinder or censor your own senses. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what censorship is. Because that's our spaceship. All of our senses. And when we got a censorship over our spaceship is limited to where it can motherfucking fly to. Our spaceship is limited to where it can motherfucking go. Our spaceship is limited to where it can astral travel and astral project. So you can't astral project in a space that you never been at before, because you might got a damaged spaceship, because it's censored. It's only authorized to go certain directions. Your GPS only got limited directions on the map. So you can't go everywhere on an esoteric GPS. You know what I'm saying? And that's esoterically traveling mentally and emotionally. And that's the shapes and forms we create that create the mental realm, the woman and mentality realm. Womentality realm and mentality realm, masculine and feminine realm, which is the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension, which is purgatory, which is the in-between realm, which is Morpheus, which is number 2, which is the realm of life. So we created the realm of birth, 7th, 8th, and 9th dimension, Garden of Eden, the first awareness, where we all became aware of this parameter that we are trying to fulfill in some way, shape, or form. 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension, we got lost in all of our own individual versions of becoming aware. That awareness is what conscious energy is, your chakra, your life form, your man, your woman, your image of your spirit. And then once we make that more dense, it becomes our light bodies in the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension. And then we utilize that to create the physical forms that mimic that we can put that light body, that air body in in that earth water looking form, which is the daughters of men. You know what I'm saying? The feminine versions, earth, water. You know what I'm saying? And then for the most part, then we put the sons of God, our daughter, in that to experience the dream a lot longer before it expires. And then for the most part, we keep creating more substance and more densities and denses and dimensions and demonic energies within life, which is this means routine and pattern and doing something over and over and over again. So you may not have this particular same body, but you had a body that kind of had a routine or pattern that likes to maintain a desire in some way, shape, or form. So now you're just doing that on a more broader awareness, being a spirit based upon spiritual experiences. Expansion and contraction, and we utilize light to experience. So light is spiritual experiences, aka experiments, and we create forms, and we go in that form, and that's how we understand information, because we figure that form out based upon the pointing system. And that's understanding, like, I don't want to get too lost into platonic shapes and things of that nature, because Platonism, because it's formalism, is all kind of different understandings out here, but all of these are just abstractions. And once you understand an abstraction, you understand that you created the abstraction. So you created the numerator noumenal. You created the disembodied form, and then you fulfill the meaning behind that form. So the disembodied noumenal form you created, you could give that a number, you could give it a letter, you could give it the image, you could say that's you, or you could say it's an Abrahamic God. And then for the most part, that's you giving that a value in some way, shape, or form. So it's a light. Now, once you call your spirit that, or give another authority of a spirit that created that concept, that authority over you, you have submerged your spirit into a cloth, aka a light, a form of information, and now your spirit can actually feel. And depending on what field that your spirit is filling in, then it could be detriment or it could be prosperity. And for the most part, this is your temperament and your character, regardless of what third dimensional, external, exoteric information that you're receiving that make you feel like whatever that you're doing is the right thing, when behind closed doors your character and your temperament is what's actually being presented. For an example, let's say you heavily religious and you into Christianity, right? But let's say you're into the apologetics and the theologian aspect of it, right? Now, whatever you're doing, you think you're doing it for the right cause, right? But at the end of the day, your character and your temperament is a person that's in internal hell because you feel the need to defend. So you defending something, and now you're defending your faith. Now, for the most part, that's an internal hell. Regardless of what you're doing it for, whatever you're doing it for, that you're lost into the world, external world, a word, language, linguistic concept, worldview that another man or woman have created that you think wasn't created by a man or woman. So you're coming up with lost concepts to justify your lostness of not knowing. But that's your character. At the end, before you pull, well, you got to believe in God because you'll go to hell, or this, that, and third, or you got to do this, that, and third. Listen, I believe in God. I believe in all possibilities. Your concept and your worldview is what's going to take you to hell, because as a spirit, you're going to go to that light. And if you don't understand it like that, there's no saving you. Flight boss, bitch. I love y'all. Air. You're now listening to the Mind of that Terry Smooth. I'm the Archangel Uriel, and I'm here to carry out God duties and motherfucking responsibilities. And I love y'all.